Okay, so today we're going to be covering Unit 4, Lesson 7, and Lesson 8. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Lesson 7. This is kind of just a general overview, so I'm not going to go too much detail, but this is a way you can watch whatever video you need. One of the things you got to keep in mind is we're going to be practicing um, using conditionals, and there's actually a total of, it looks like 14 puzzles we have to get through on lesson 7. They need to all be done. um, I'm going to go over them in a few minutes, but I want to go ahead and go through these slides so you have an overview of what you're doing in lesson 7. One of the things you need to keep in mind is try to work in groups so you can do the pair programming. You have a driver, the person that kind of does the keyboarding, the coding, and then you got a navigator, somebody that keeps track of what's going on with the program. Now, my suggestion is you can switch off maybe every 5 or 6 minutes. That way, the other person doesn't get tired of typing. The other thing is you're going to have to remember the 4 steps of debugging. So when you're working in some of the puzzles, remember that whenever you run into a problem, the best thing to do is just think about what the problem is. These guidelines right here, you can come back to the slides and look at it. These are your slides. These are the student notes. Um, what do you expect the program to do? What is it actually doing? Does it always happen when you run the program? That's the basic description of the problem. Then you hunt for bugs. Look for the triangles or the yellow triangles, the red squares. Basically, those are where the errors are. Um, think about what you just fixed most recently, and maybe that's probably the problem. You forgot a simple thing like a semicolon. And you can also have your partner look at the code, and sometimes having two eyes on it makes it a little bit easier. Then you try a solution, make a small change, and if it works, then you can also document it. Put a comment on there. Remember how to do the comments. It's a forward slash forward slash, and then everything else follows. It usually turns into a gray block. Next, let's look at what we're specifically debugging today in lesson 7. You need to be looking for syntax errors, and remember that's basically the way the code's written. Sometimes if you miss a comma, a semicolon, um, parentheses, you'll end up making the code unusable because you missed something simple. Also, remember the way that the variable names are written. Sometimes that causes trouble. They have to be exactly the same. So if you you know if you have your variable at the beginning of the program and then you use it inside the program and they're different names, it won't work. When I was mentioning the yellow triangles, the program will still work, but there's an error that's really small. But if you see a red triangle, that's a big error, and you need to fix it, or else the program won't run. Your logical errors, you got to look for those. Those are if you're running a program and it's not doing what it's supposed to do. It's running, but it's not actually doing what it's actually supposed to, accomplish. So let's see what else notes I have here. This is all going to be used for lesson 7 and 8, but I'm just going over it really quick. You can go back and kind of look at them, the slides, and kind of get. We've already been through a couple of these slides. Most of these slides are from the lesson 6 and 5. So I want to bring out something real quick. You see these stars. These are the pieces that if you're working with the code, you can actually see if you need these simple helpers, which you have the design mode. Remember that changes things that is on the user interface. Also, you have the show text. If you don't want to deal with the blocks, go ahead and hit show text, and it'll take it to JavaScript. And you can also create a watcher, which will allow the program to run, and you can kind of see the value right here in the console area, see what's going on that actually makes a difference. And that's pretty much all I have to do to say about lesson 7. So In a few minutes, I'm going to explain the parts you need for each of the different puzzles. But I'm going to give you an overview real quick of lesson 8, so that way you know what to get started with. In lesson 8, I did attach some of the things you're going to need, such as your comparison operators. When you're actually creating the code, you're going to be using some of these comparison operators, so less than, greater than, equal to. This will help you get some of the code created. Also, we'll also be using logical operators, and you can use them throughout the program. We have examples from lesson 7 that will help you create the code that you need. And I'll try to at least put on Canvas what are the main puzzles you need to know from lesson 7 to create lesson 8. Finally, we're going to be working on creating this museum ticket generator. Basically, if you kind of look at it real quick, you know that this top part is just a user interface message, and then we actually have we have the event handlers such as day, event handlers such as age. Then you have discount code, which is an input, and then you have the button itself to basically calculate the ticket. And of course, you have the output, but that's not really an event handler. That's just output. So think about the pieces you need. We do have a sheet that's going to go with it, so you need to fill the sheet out and complete the app, so that way you can turn it in. Let's see. So you're going to try to make tickets for different combinations of input. Make a ticket for a weekend, make a ticket for a weekday, and someone that's 18 or younger. Try the discount code free Friday on Friday. Use whatever variables you need for the program, and you need to think about where you need to put the if statements that help you. I will be kind of overviewing that in a different video, but right now I'm just giving an overview of Unit 4, Lesson 7 and 8. So this is a sheet that I'm talking about. This needs to be filled out. It's going to be on Canvas. Just make sure that you do the handlers and you run it according to the data it gives you, so that you can see the things changing. Also, remember to look at the rubric that's at the bottom of it, because whatever the rubric is how I'm going to be grading your project. So you need this sheet put in, and you need the project, so I can give you full credit. And other than that, I think that's pretty much it for overview of lessons 7 and 8.